Campbell from awesomeartschool.com. Last week, I brought a Zentangling video to anyone who has kind of a love-hate relationship with it, and it was 6 tricks to get you started. Well, I was perusing Pinterest, kind of conjuring ideas for a new video about Zentangling for you, and I came across some seriously amazing Zentangle pieces, and I have decoded what is so special about them, and I'm gonna bring them to you in this video, and I'm just breaking it down into 3 simple steps to bring your Zentangles to the next level, but also all of your art to the next level. So first, I promised to share with you what inspired this video today. So these are some of the things I was seeing on Pinterest. I was looking up Zentangle. I've done a project with a gemstone for my Fun Fab Drawing Club members. So that inspired me to go back to Pinterest and look at more gemstones, Zentangle drawings. And that's when I started to pay really close attention, not only to the gemstones, but actually to the Zentangle projects also, because I've been doing this sort of series here on YouTube. And that's when this one really jumped out at me. So while I was getting really obsessed with these gems and looking at the shading and the highlights on the gemstone, it hit me in the face. Like, this is amazing. This is by Zen.Linea, I guess is that person, if you want to look them up. And the fact that even with just a simple black and white drawing, or something that's not really simple, but the reason that these items are jumping off the page is that there's variation in line weights, there's shading, and there's highlights. It's as simple as that. We are going to also build ourselves a little project today using these 3 same principles: line weight, shading, and highlights. Okay, so now that you've seen some examples of what is freaking kick-ass about these pieces, we're gonna start with number 1, which is line weights. You have to have a variety of line weights. Make sure you're using a number of different pens, different thicknesses, different nibs. Let's get started on an actual small project. So I hope you'll draw along with me. I'm gonna use a piece of toned paper because there's nothing better than toned paper for accentuating the principles that we're going to be talking about today. Also, if you draw with me, fun fact, you can join my free private Facebook group and post a picture of your final. Use the hashtag Karen's YouTube and be entered to win in our monthly giveaway. And I do huge giveaways. You can win a free art book or a pencil pouch every single month, and all you do is post and it automatically enters you to win. Look at this ginormous, gorgeous pencil pouch. Free. I have like 20 designs to choose from too. So fun. All right, so I was just doing a next simply to find the center of my paper. And I want to have one of those big old jewel gemstones right in the middle. So that's why I wanted to kind of find my center. I'm going to use a circle template because I just want to make it beautiful and perfect. And we're already starting to get into our, tangle zone. And actually right away, I'm gonna dive into my pens. Out the gate, we can mess with line weights. I want the first circle that I draw to have a heavy thickness because we are basically outlining, right? The most important part of our centerpiece of our design, which is the jewel. So let's just take a look at this real quick. Look at these 2 pieces. These have a dark outline and this doesn't. So this actually has sort of a white outline. So to me, these ones stand out way more than this one. Especially here, it gets really lost. The highlight would actually be much more pronounced if there was a heavy duty dark line around it. So these, however, really come out of the paper at you. And that's because they have a nice thick outline around them. So that's where I'm gonna start, friends. First one is a heavy duty, right? Because that one's going around like so. So again, I'm just making this up, just doing some doodads, some scalloped. I don't know these, I'm sure these have some proper name. I don't know what they are. To me, they're just half circles and I'm not lining them up perfectly. Now that first line looks almost the same way as this 0.4. So I don't think that was a good marker or a good pen. I'm gonna need to go back and beef that sucker up. Now say you didn't have, maybe you only have 1 thickness of a marker. So another way that you can add the impression of line weight is to blacken or darken areas. Okay, so that would be a real easy method, would be to take all these little in between these spaces and then fill them in. Okay, since my first line really wasn't fat at all, I need to go fatten it up. This should be much fatter. Now this is a chisel nib, so it's harder to get a consistent look. All right, there we go. Thank you. All right, so let's get some more kind of organic shapes going here. I have no idea what I'm doing, but that's the whole fun of it, isn't it? See how flat that is, but see how this sticks out in the middle? That's just because that's a thicker line. That is all that is. Different ways that we can increase line weights are, we can start just adding thick areas to these super skinny areas. And you can subdivide them, or you can just kind of color them in. Or you can do a combination of the two. Here's the last piece that I did, one of my recent pieces, which is this little Zentangle mermaid. And you see how these swirls in all the places that have a thicker black jump out at you? That's just line weight. Hopefully you will be doodling with me, and we're gonna just start thickening up some of these lines a little bit more. And now you can see, once you've had all those black lines in, now those almost overshadow the rest of the piece because they're so black. But again, that's the power of line weights. So now we can just fill in these little intermediate areas with, well, with just kind of whatever we want. Getting so carried away. That is the power of the Zen. All right, I put in all the swirlies and all the polka dotties on the swirlies. And I have to interrupt myself for just a second to say one thing. All right, ready for number two? Number two is so powerful, and that is to add shading. Adding shading just amplifies all of the already punchiness we have with our line weights, and it brings it to the next level. You're creating depth and dimension, and you know what? It's super freaking easy to do. Don't believe me? All right, I'll show you how easy it is. Follow me. When you are doing shading, you need to have a light source coming from some place. So, turned off all my lights. I have my phone light on. If I have an object, a three-dimensional object, sitting anywhere on my paper, you can see that the shadow is very definitively cast to the right side of the object. So our job when adding shading is to pretend there is a light source, just decide where it's gonna be. I like to always have it coming from the upper left corner, no clue. Actually, I do have a clue. It makes it easier when you're drawing to have it in a consistent place, because that way you always put your shadows in the same place every freaking time. Isn't that just so lovely? So I just have a gray Copic marker, and we are going to pretend that these, our line objects, are actually tall, and that they are going to cast a shadow when we have our light source there. So to the right of all of these swirly McGigs, we're going to have a cast shadow. And you can simply go around your drawing and pop in these little shadows everywhere, you see, on the right side of every line. And in each project you do, oh, that one didn't get any decor, right? And all of a sudden these things start springing to life. So the stone will have a super highlighted area, like a very strong, like this, where the light source is, and then it kind of weirdly like diffuses out the butt of the, I don't know, whatever the butt is. So again, I'm assuming and this is a lighter one. This is C2, so, and it also fades. So we're gonna have this part is gonna be shaded no matter what color stone we're gonna have. So I'm just actually starting with a shade. So when you're working with toned paper, and I have a whole little mini series on toned paper in this, on my drawing channel as well, which really goes in depth onto how all this works. If you want to learn more practice, it comes with some downloadable PDFs that can help you as well. But the tone paper is super fun, so I'm adding the C4 now, because the mid-tones are just the color of the paper. So all you get to do is add the darks and the lights. And that C4 is that C2 is fading nicely out. I'm just gonna pop it back in. So we have our light, dark, and then we're gonna actually add the color of the stones as well. Just make sure all of the shading and all of the highlights are in the same direction so it reads properly. All right, we're gonna do the same thing with our jewel though. Before we move on to the white highlights, we gotta get going on our jewels. We gotta get going on our jewels. Now I'm singing, that's how you know I'm in my super happy place. We can start light and go dark, or we could go dark and start light. That doesn't even make sense. I'm gonna start with the green. This is a light Copic green. I have a million marker drawing tutorials on YouTube. Should I make all of these green? That's the question. I think I might have them just be different colors. And then we do the middle shade, and then we do the darker shade, and we can go back to the lightest shade, blend it all together, and then go back to the darkest shade again. And I'm gonna repeat that process for the other smaller gemstones around them in different colors. Or should I do them all green? Oh no, I can't decide. And I'll do those for these little color ones too. Okay friends, last but not least, we have the most powerful move, which is adding highlights. Oh my gosh. Whether you use teeny tiny, barely there sparkly whites, or big, bold white marks like I make every day, you are going to, again, accentuate the dimension and the depth, bring in some sparkle, shimmer. You can make things look wet. Either way, those highlights look so freaking good. So even if you don't have line weights, even if you don't even add shading, please, please, please add some highlights. It really kicks up your work and it makes it more enjoyable, sparkly, lively for everyone who bestows a look upon it. So let's go check out some easy ways to add highlights to your Zentangles, but also just regular drawings. All right, now for this is the most important part of the whole video, getting the white highlights in. So there's two kinds of highlights. You can do a super light one, which is what I'm gonna do now. And for this, you can do something like a colored pencil, right? Something that would give more of a soft glow. Now I can use the side of it here, and that way you don't get a line per se, but you get more of just a super wide light glow, really. Just get a glow, okay? You can do the same thing on these little babies. I just used 3 shades of pink, same way that I did for the green, just putting it on the bums. I don't know why I call them the bum, like it just looks like the bum. Like that's gotta be the head and this is the bum. I don't know why, it's just how my brain sees it. And where else is it nice to do a nice white? Well, we already have this curve started, but we don't really feel it until we have those whites in. And that is where these shapes start to really become 3-dimensional. This is where the magic happens. And it's just nothing, you know, I'm like hardly even pushing down. It's just magical. Look at that one compared to those ones. So it's not just the shading, it's not just the line weights, and it's not just the highlights, but it's all of those pieces that when you put them together, that really kapow! Now wait till I put the strong highlight in the gem, then you'll even see it even more. Oh, you know what? I actually didn't even add shading to this little ring. So actually this is like a little mini gray. So this little gray one, you can run it around the edges here because that flashlight, if you remember, is casting a shadow. All right, so let's see, we can keep going. We could have these bits could all have little highlights too, right? And then they start springing to life as well. And you can pop little ones on these suckers. And again, this is where the tone paper becomes pretty magical, because without it, you would have to be able to put all these highlights everywhere. Okay, so we have that, and then now those start springing to extra life, don't they? Okay, we can also have some, okay, we can add some if we want to on our swirls. Maybe they're picking up, maybe they have some more height than we realized. And that's not quite producing as big of a punch as I would like them to, which is when I reach for my favorite supply in the whole wide world, which is my Copic white. Now, a smart person would use a gel pen in this case, but I'm not a smart person. So I just go right for the, I go right for the gold. Okay, so we'd have a great big, actual big shine on the jewel, which is the most fun part of all. Okay, I don't believe in a shy little baby. I like big old fashioned boinks. So all of these they would all have a highlight in the same direction. Oh, and I just put my hand in that one. And then all of a sudden it's like, it goes from looking slightly shiny to almost like wet. Okay, so you can play around with the different types of whites too, and don't just settle for just doing one and being done. Don't squiggle your line like I did, that's not good. Okay, but so having all three elements is absolutely essential to getting your point across and having all three elements in play. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend. And if you want to do a deep dive with me, starting off nice and slow with some easy Zentangles and then progressing to some more really fun projects, I have hundreds available for you right now for ultimate binging in my Fun Fab Drawing Club, where artists of all levels, mostly women, not gonna lie, love some baby boomers too, by the way, come and binge and enjoy themselves, connect with like-minded, amazing adult learners, and have a blast learning to draw. I will leave a description in the description box below of my Fun Fab Drawing Club. You can learn more at awesomeartschool.com. Thank you so much. Now go binge this playlist if you want to learn how to add dimension and highlights and pizzazz to your whimsical girl faces. Yes, something new. Maybe you're stuck on Zentangling. Well, maybe it's time to break outside the box. I'll see you in that video and I'll walk you through step by step.